Tonight, breaking news. Ukrainian President Zelenskyy now in London meeting with European leaders as the fallout from his confrontation in the Oval Office with President Trump intensifies. Former Governor Andrew Cuomo jumps back into politics in the race for New York City mayor. And we're here in Los Angeles with less than 24 hours until Oscars' big night. First, sources saying President Trump is considering ending support for Ukraine after that stunning blow-up in the Oval Office, as President Zelenskyy is welcomed by UK's Prime Minister ahead of a meeting with European leaders preparing to discuss the future of Ukraine. Nearly all showing their support for Zelenskyy. Europe's top diplomat saying the free world needs a new leader as Russia carries out more strikes on Ukraine. Team coverage tonight. 3 years after scandal forced him out of office, former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo is back, announcing he's running for mayor of New York City, saying the city is in crisis. The White House orders 3,000 more active-duty troops to the southern border, among them a Stryker Brigade combat team, to join the thousands of soldiers and Marines already there, enhancing a national crackdown on immigration. The terrifying moments in the sky near a New York airport, flames bursting from the engine of a FedEx cargo jet. Overseas, the latest on Pope Francis, 2 weeks into the Holy Father's hospital stay as he battles pneumonia. The new twist in Drake's legal battle over the song Not Like Us. And the countdown to the 97th Oscars is on. We're live from Los Angeles behind the scenes, a preview of the tight races and the musical acts set to perform.
From ABC News, this is World News Tonight. Reporting tonight from Los Angeles.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us on this Saturday. I'm Wade Johnson reporting from Los Angeles tonight. And we begin with the fallout from that Oval Office confrontation. Sources telling ABC News that President Trump is considering pausing all military aid to Ukraine. This after that heated and tense exchange at the White House between Trump and Ukraine's President Zelenskyy, leaving abruptly after the meeting unraveled. Zelenskyy is now in London, welcomed by British Prime Minister Keir Starmer. He's there for a summit with European leaders on Sunday and is also expected to meet with Britain's King Charles tomorrow. All this as Ukraine is locked in a bitter 3-year war with Russia, and many in the international community are desperately seeking a pathway to peace. Tonight, the reaction from the U.S. and overseas. We have team coverage. ABC's senior White House correspondent Selina Wang leads us off from Washington.
Tonight, billions of dollars in military aid for Ukraine in jeopardy after the shocking Oval Office blow-up between President Trump and President Zelenskyy.
You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III.
Sources tell ABC the Trump administration now strongly considering cutting off its military support for America's longtime ally as it fights for survival 3 years after Russia's invasion. Trump delivering this ultimatum after kicking Zelenskyy out of the White House. A deal for Ukraine to share its mineral resources left on the table unsigned.
Either we're going to end it or let him fight it out. And if he fights it out, it's not going to be pretty. Because without us, he doesn't win.
The heated exchange coming after Trump falsely called the democratically elected Zelenskyy a dictator while expressing sympathy for the authoritarian Putin. Today, Zelenskyy posting on social media, "No one wants peace more than we do. It's a fight for our freedom, for our very survival. But we can't just stop fighting and not having guarantees that Putin will not return tomorrow." The White House blaming Zelenskyy for the souring relationship. Many Republicans siding with that view.
What I saw in the Oval Office was disrespectful, and I don't know if we can ever do business with Zelenskyy again.
But others pushing back. Tonight, Republican Senator Lisa Murkowski saying, "I am sick to my stomach," as the administration appears to be walking away from our allies and embracing Putin, a threat to democracy and U.S. values around the world. Democrats, meanwhile, outraged by the scene.
It was a planned ambush designed to embarrass President Zelenskyy in order to benefit Vladimir Putin. That was an embarrassment. That was an abomination.
And Zelenskyy says America's help has been vital to its survival. But if President Trump were to cut off military aid to Ukraine, the impact on the battlefield is unclear, since former President Biden had rushed to send as much equipment as possible to the country before he left office. But either way, it is a sign of a shocking rupture between wartime allies. Whit?
All right, Selina Wang for us. Thank you. And after that disastrous meeting in the Oval Office with President Trump, European leaders are rallying behind Ukraine's President Zelenskyy. The UK convening an emergency summit of officials from European and other Western nations tomorrow. ABC's foreign correspondent Tom Soufi Burridge reporting from London tonight.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed yourself to be in a very bad position, and he happens to be right about it.
From the very beginning of the war.
You're not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having cards. But right now,
just 24 hours after that breathtaking exchange in the Oval Office, tonight, Ukrainian President Zelenskyy welcomed like a hero in London. British Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer putting his arm around Zelenskyy. The UK leader then reiterating Ukraine's key argument. They can only accept a potential peace deal if there are security guarantees which prevent Russia from re-attacking Ukraine.
To achieve what we both want to achieve, which is a lasting peace for Ukraine based on sovereignty and security for Ukraine.
The UK convening an emergency summit of European and other Western leaders, but not the US, in London tomorrow, after a top European official suggested America can no longer be considered as the leader of the free world. Meanwhile, in Ukraine, Russian forces striking this residential building in Zaporizhia in the south in another ballistic missile attack, according to Ukrainian officials. The Kremlin today celebrating, mocking Europe and Ukraine, saying Trump gave a, quote, beating to Zelenskyy. And tomorrow, Ukrainian President Zelenskyy will meet with King Charles. Zelenskyy will also gather with European leaders amid a growing rift in their relationship with the US.
Tom Soufi Burridge for us. Thank you. Next tonight, Andrew Cuomo launching a political comeback. The former governor announcing today he's running for mayor of New York City, upending a crowded race to unseat embattled Mayor Eric Adams. This 3 years after Cuomo resigned, facing multiple controversies, including allegations of sexual misconduct. Here's ABC's Morgan Norwood.
Tonight, New York's former governor, who resigned amid multiple allegations, says he's now running for New York City mayor.
I believe I can help. And that is why I announced my candidacy today for mayor of New York City.
Ending weeks of speculation, Andrew Cuomo making his comeback official with a nearly 20-minute video, touting his decades of experience in politics, saying he's the one who can, quote, fix this city. The end of Cuomo's tenure as governor was sullied by scandal. At least 11 women, some of them state employees, accusing him of sexual harassment. Cuomo, who is the face of New York's response to COVID, came under fire for his handling of the virus when it was spreading through nursing homes. Tonight, acknowledging what he called past mistakes.
Did I always do everything right in my years of government service? Of course not. Did I make mistakes? Some painfully? Definitely. And I believe I learned from them and that I am a better person for it. And I hope to show you that every day.
He now enters a crowded race, one that includes fellow Democrat embattled incumbent Mayor Eric Adams. Cuomo not mentioning Adams by name, but blames Democratic leadership for a failing transit system, crime, immigration, and the economy. Cuomo jumping into the race just as Mayor Adams is awaiting a final word from a judge on whether to dismiss sweeping federal corruption charges after the Department of Justice recommended the case be thrown out. Critics have blasted the DOJ's move as quid pro quo following Adams' meeting with Trump's border czar over the administration's immigration overhaul.
And Cuomo also largely avoiding criticism of President Trump in his announcement, too, instead saying he's worked with him in the past and hopes Trump would work with him again.
All right, Morgan Norwood, thank you. Now to the Pentagon, sending about 3,000 more active duty troops to the southern border. The troops are expected to arrive over the next few weeks, all part of the Trump administration's immigration crackdown. And this comes in addition to the several thousand U.S. soldiers and Marines already stationed at the border. Here's ABC's Alex Prochet.
Tonight, the U.S. on the brink of the largest active duty troop presence at the southern border in years. A new wave of troops gearing up to deploy in the coming weeks, bringing the total to around 9,000. Among the forces being sent, Stryker armored personnel carriers and an aviation battalion. Authorities insisting the troops are only there to support Customs and Border Patrol. These deployments, part of President Donald Trump's border policy. They come as migrant numbers at the southern border have been trending downwards, roughly 61,000 in January, the lowest number of encounters there since 2020. The Trump administration's targeting of illegal migration and drugs now poised to go even further. The Wall Street Journal reporting a tense conversation on January 31st, 1 week after his confirmation. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth reportedly telling Mexican officials the U.S. would take unilateral action if they were unable to secure the border themselves. According to people briefed on the call, Mexican officials interpreting that to mean U.S. military action inside of Mexico. And at Marco Rubio's confirmation for Secretary of State, he did not rule out military action by the U.S.
My preference would be, from the Department of State's perspective, my preference would be that we can work with the Mexicans on this issue cooperatively.
President Trump's threatened to put 25% tariffs on top trade partners Mexico and Canada starting Tuesday unless they give in to his demands. Writing in a social media post, "We cannot allow this scourge to continue to harm the USA." Mexico and Canada have made efforts to appease the president. Mexico sending 10,000 troops to the border. And this week, 29 alleged drug lords were extradited to the U.S., including Rafael Quintero, the man convicted in Mexico for the 1985 torture and murder of DE agent Enrique Kiki Camarena.
We have waited 40 years for this day. This day when justice would be served.
WIT and Immigration and Customs Enforcement has been feuding with Boston officials. Florida's our Tom Homan critical of the city's sanctuary policies. Homan vowing to visit Boston and to bring hell with him. WIT.
Alex Brochet, thank you. Now to the breaking news in the global outage impacting Microsoft. Social media flooded with complaints. Let's bring in ABC's Perry Russom now. And Perry, what more are you learning tonight about this outage?
Microsoft says they are now investigating. This lasted about an hour, affecting Microsoft 365. That includes Outlook. Millions of people use that for their email. Data from Down Detector shows there were at least 25,000 reports of outages. And Microsoft says they have identified a potential cause and, in their words, reverted the suspected code. So experts say it appears this is tied to a software update. The company dealt with a different outage last summer when computers stopped working and affected hospitals, banks, and airports. Flights were canceled. That case was also blamed on a software issue.
Yeah, so many of us dealing with this today. Perry, thank you. Next tonight, yet another close call in the sky. A FedEx cargo plane forced to make an emergency landing at Newark International Airport. The flames coming out of an engine after a bird strike, and new details coming in tonight. Here's ABC's Phil Lipoff.
Tonight, a fiery midair scare. Dramatic video showing a FedEx cargo jet just moments after takeoff in New Jersey.
Just hit a bird. We're declaring emergency, returning to the airfield.
The Boeing 767 striking a bird around 8 a.m. before turning back to Newark International Airport.
I was in shock, like seeing a plane on fire with your own eyes.
Sofiane Zebla witnessed it while driving.
Something was falling from the sky, which I believe was a bird, like a big black bird. After that, the fire starts.
The pilots safely returning back to the airport, making an emergency landing. Nobody was harmed. FedEx releasing a statement commending the flight crew, saying the training, expertise, and professionalism demonstrated by our FedEx pilots was exemplary. We are thankful for the quick actions of our crew and first responders. Air traffic was briefly paused at Newark just as a precaution. An investigation is now underway by the FAA.
Phil Lipoff, thanks so much. Now to the investigation into the suspicious death of legendary actor Gene Hackman and his wife Betsy Arakawa. The couple found dead inside their Santa Fe home, along with one of their dogs during a welfare check. The possible clue about the timing of Hackman's death and the community mourning his passing. Here's ABC's Melissa Adon.
Tonight, the investigation into the suspicious deaths of legendary actor Gene Hackman and his wife, Betsy Arakawa, intensifying after they were found unresponsive in their wooded New Mexico home. Those who knew him saying he was drawn to the area after stardom.
I think that was important for him, and being out in the wild, if you will, as opposed to being in Hollywood.
The 95-year-old actor, his wife, and one of their dogs found dead inside their Santa Fe home Wednesday after a caretaker called 911.
No, dude, they're not moving. Just send somebody out here really quick.
Police sharing potential clues into when the couple may have died. Hackman's pacemaker last registering an event February 17th.
I think that is a very good assumption that was his last day of life.
Investigators say they found Hackman in the mudroom, appearing to have suddenly fallen. His wife found on a bathroom floor, a space heater near her head, and an opened orange prescription bottle with pills scattered on the countertop nearby. One of their dogs found deceased in a crate.
It's really key to do basically a timeline of at least 48 hours before they died to see if there's any information in there.
While authorities await the toxicology and autopsy reports, investigators have also found 2 cell phones, even some blood pressure and thyroid medication, as well as a medical record inside the home as they hunt for more clues.
Still so many unanswered questions. Melissa Adon, thank you. Now to the final countdown to the Oscars, just 24 hours away. The stars preparing to walk the hottest red carpet of the year. I was there just a few hours ago. Let's go ahead and bring in ABC's Jacqueline Lee in Hollywood tonight. And Jacqueline, what can you tell us about the lineup for the big show?
When it is a race to the finish line, and you can feel the energy. It is busy, but very excited. Down there, they're preparing what they call the step and repeat. That is when celebrities walk out of the limos and pose in front of the paparazzi, showing off their gorgeous outfits. Then they walk down the red carpet. They're going to pass dozens of hand-picked fans who are going to be cheering on their favorite celebrities. Those movie stars then rounding the corner, walking up those famous red carpet steps and walking into the Dolby Theater. They'll find out the winners in those 23 categories. We, of course, will have full coverage starting tomorrow at the Oscars on the red carpet starting at 3:30 Eastern.
And I'll be right there with you. Jacqueline Lee, thanks so much. There's still much more ahead on World News Tonight this Saturday. Later, we'll head back to the red carpet as excitement builds for the Oscars and some of the top nominees locked in wide open races. Plus, the latest in Drake's legal battle over Kendrick Lamar's song, Not Like Us. Stay with us. Next tonight, the Vatican says Pope Francis is resting comfortably after a respiratory crisis on Friday. The 88-year-old remains alert and oriented, according to the Vatican. Francis has been hospitalized since February 14th. He's said to be in good spirits. Still ahead, more on Drake's legal battle over Kendrick Lamar's song, Not Like Us. Next tonight, rapper Drake is settling his lawsuit against iHeartMedia, part of his ongoing legal dispute over Kendrick Lamar's single, Not Like Us. Drake has alleged iHeart received illegal payments from Universal Music Group, the label for both Drake and Lamar, to boost airplay for the diss track against Drake. Drake is also suing Universal Music Group. When we come back, we return to the red carpet as anticipation builds for tomorrow's Oscars. Finally tonight, the 97th Oscars, just about 24 hours away.
Tonight, on the eve of Hollywood's biggest night, the red carpet has been rolled out and crews are working feverishly to get everything Oscar ready.
I am honored to host.
With Conan O'Brien hosting for the first time, expect the unexpected.
I don't care if my ideas are bad ideas. I care that they're new and you haven't seen it before.
I got a sneak peek behind the scenes, walking all 900 feet of that famous carpet.
And this is one of the most recognizable areas. This is known as step and repeat. It looks different every year, but this is where the stars come out, they pose for the cameras, they step, they do it again, and then work their way to the Dolby Theater.
Several of the top Oscar categories remain wide open.
I'm fine.
And the race for Best Actress in a leading role, Demi Moore considered a favorite, taking home both the Golden Globe and SAG Award for her role in the horror thriller The Substance.
3 carats.
What about 4? But 25-year-old Mikey Madison, who won the BAFTA Award, is generating lots of buzz for her breakout role in Anora.
I kind of went off and spent, 5 months really just trying to cultivate the character and just bring this character to life.
My buildings were devised to endure such erosion.
And for Best Actor, Adrian Brody in The Brutalist received his first Oscar when he was only 29, becoming the youngest ever to win that award.
Did you ever listen to the music you're telling me not to play?
Now he's up against 29-year-old Timothée Chalamet, playing Bob Dylan in A Complete Unknown. If he takes home the Oscar, he'll become the youngest, edging out Brody's previous win by just a few months.
And the 97th Academy Awards tomorrow. Lindsay Davis and I will be co-hosting the pre-show beginning at 3:30 Eastern. Have a great night. We'll see you then.
Thank you for making World News Tonight with David Muir, America's most watched newscast.